Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Rise Urban Nation. I got a special guest, and this brother, we we have been in several of the same circles, and I'm surprised we haven't met each other sooner. From what is it? Was it Bassanio? Who the same circles? Luis from We the Plug. Who else?
We the plug. We got Mike Roberts from San Diego Code School. We got
Yeah,
Claude Jones from San Diego Tech Hub. You name them.
yeah, all these brothers. And so, like, I'm just glad that I met them on Innovation Day. And then we'll get into what you was doing there at Innovation Day, your booth and so forth. But for those who don't know Bassanio, let's start off with that question. Who is Bassanio?
Bassanio is a founder of a startup called Assist to Develop. I'm a father, got two kids, two young kids, 11, one going on 10. Former collegiate athlete turned entrepreneur.
Wow, I didn't even know you was a collegiate athlete. What sport did you play?
Basketball.
Basketball. Okay, all right. So yeah, I see there,
hmm
ladies and gentlemen, there is life after sports. You just have to be
100%.
ready to embrace it. Like, were you chasing like the basketball dream, or it was tech always on your mind?
Tech wasn't always on my mind, but entrepreneurship was. I didn't know it was going to be in tech. To be honest, I started in real estate, and I was getting into real estate, and I was one of the people back when the economy bursted to try and flip homes,
Mm,
flip houses. Learned this game. Had a couple of people that I was interested in, and was starting my own firm around that. But I got introduced into tech and kind of fell in love with. I've been in mechanical engineering for a long time now, 15 plus years, and fell in love with the process of how products come to life.
nice. I love that. Like, how did
And
you?
my and that kind of came from that came from my best friend, who's another brother, and he's actually a mechanical engineer. Works for Universal Studios, so he designs roller coasters for a living. So him and I have been
Nice.
best friends since eighth grade, and it's kind of always back and forth. And I just fell into it and fell in love with it.
Man, I love that. I love that. Because there's not too many people that just. I know when I was in high school, I didn't know mechanical engineering like that, or like, oh, I want to go into mechanical engineering. What was your high school thing that you were interested in when you were in high school?
Basketball. It was basketball. So that's what I mean. My best friend, he's always wanted to design roller coasters. So we had dialogue back and forth. But yeah, I wanted to play pro overseas so I could travel, see the world. That was my thing and what I was really striving for. But it didn't work out that way. I left college after my junior year. Just had a
Hmm.
slew of injuries that uh, it wasn't fun for me anymore. So I was like,
Man,
what's next? What's the next step for me? And got into the professional world and, just kind of went the corporate ladder. And then
man.
from there, jumped headfirst into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, now, a lot of people have trouble making that transition. Like, how were you able to make that transition? Because I see some brothers, they have that dream, and it doesn't turn out or pan out to what it needs to be, and they have such a tough time just transitioning into the next thing. Like, I mean, what was that process like for you, and how did you end up doing the transition?
Good question. Yeah, I know a lot of people that struggle with that as well. I have friends that have played pro and come back and don't really know what to do. And for me, it's always just been, the drive to kind of be the best and to thrive in a field that I'm in.
Hmm.
And long story short, I, I kind of got lucky.
Hmm.
I came home from college, didn't really know what I wanted to do, got into a management program for Best Buy. And it's ironic. I bring up the mortgage industry, and I'll get to how I got there in home loans, and then trying to get my real estate brokerage license. I was selling home theater stuff through Magnolia Home Theater at Best
Hmm.
Buy. Slang this guy, sold him all kind of like, package, basically this whole home theater package. And he's like,
Hmm.
hey, man, I love your style. Come to this brokerage office. I do home loans. And that was kind of my first taste into that. But then again, once the economy tanked, I started looking and saying, all right, like, what was it that I really want to do? What are some of the things that I'm interested in? And then a friend of mine got me into this job selling mechanical engineering design software. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do this as kind of like a stopgap. Then I'll get my
Mhm.
brokerage license and I'm going to do all these other things with this business. And then lo and behold, I just kind of fell in love with the industry. So to answer your question, I kind of fell into it and I got lucky and I found something that I really liked. I was one of the youngest people in my career, in my field, in that role. I would go to
Mhm.
conferences and would be one of the youngest people and then one of the few minorities. So it was like you kind of stick out like a sore thumb. I had to kind of show up and show out. So to
Mhm.
me, it was kind of like a competitive drive. Like I want to be one of the best at this. And that's kind of how I approach everything. People
Yeah.
make the joke like I got that. Now I wouldn't say Mamba mentality to that level, but I'm a student of the game and just kind of learning and immersing myself into something once I get into it.
Hey, I love you gave so much value just in that, even though, you said you got lucky, but the things that I admire about everything in that story that you said is that one, you were open and willing to experience new things, right? And then once
Right.
you got into the experiencing the mindset to want to be the best at what you do, which you put more energy, effort, and focus and intention and tenacity into that thing, and which helped you thrive to that next thing. So
And
I
I
love that.
and I think that to your point, like trying new things and not being afraid of it, like for me, it was again, it was a luck I fell into it. But then from there, it was just, how do I thrive in this? And then again, I had a good support network, my best friend, mechanical engineer, like I said. So talking to him throughout the
Hmm.
years, but it's just a matter of not being afraid to fail and not being afraid to try things. So that was it for me.
Man, I love that. So now saw you at Innovation Day, and I can't replicate your pitch. So tell the people a little bit about your company, what you do, and how this thing got started.
Yeah, sure. So I run a company called Assist to Develop, and we're trying to basically democratize innovation in engineering and manufacturing, help anyone, anywhere create anything. So think of it in terms of this is that, organizations struggle to innovate. A lot of companies really, really have a tough time. And if you're not familiar with this industry, like $581 billion was spent on corporate innovation. So companies spend a lot of money to have innovative ideas and products, but
Mhm.
most of the time it fails. Of that 581, billion dollars spent in 2019 on corporate innovation, only 6% of executives are satisfied. So it's like
Mm.
there's this gap that exists. Rewind, when I was selling software, I saw an opportunity. Like I had a bunch of friends that, basically how I got really good at my job because I was not a mechanical engineer. I studied business in college, was just becoming friends with a lot of these guys and being really curious and just asking a ton of questions when I was trying to sell the software. And it wasn't like playing dumb. No, I was really like not educated on the field. Like I got thrown into it and got handed the keys to a business early on when I first got started. So that's how I had to learn. So for me, a lot of those engineers that became friends would be like, hey, Bassanio, you're selling software to all these companies. Do you know any of them that have like freelance work that I can do like nights and weekends? Like I always pick up the extra side hustle, side contract. I was like, all right, cool. So I started feeding people business that way, and they turned around and came to me and said, hey, Bassanio, like let me give you a little something for that. And I was like, nah, man, it's cool, like don't worry about it, like a little something, like finder's fee. And then I had this guy that was really smart, did computational fluid dynamics. So that's studying how airflow and water flows through pipes,
Hmm.
tubes. It can be all kind of different things. I would get him like $250 an hour for
What?
computational, yeah, man, for computational
Wow.
fluid dynamics studies, because it's not a long time, but it's really setting this up and running with it. He would give me 50% of his cut because he was like,
Wow.
listen, I don't have to deal with the customers. I don't have to talk to them. You're handling the sales and like the operations part of it. I just get to focus on doing my job. So I said, well, wait a minute. Started playing with numbers in my head. Well, what if I can scale this? What if I can get X amount of people? So, like the Fivers and the Upworks of the world, these freelance marketplaces, I was one of the ones to start the early ones in engineering,
Hmm.
mechanical engineering, and CAD design. So, I started that platform, but I didn't really like the model. So, basically, people would come on the website and say they're going to build you Elon Musk's Falcon 9 rocket for $9 an hour. So, I'm like,
No.
it's not good for my brand, not good for what I'm trying to do. And I didn't really like that model very much. So you iterate. right? And that's part of being an entrepreneur, is being able to recognize this isn't working. How do I make a change and a fix to it? So I started researching like open innovation. I had heard
Mm-hmm.
about it through this story that I shared at Innovation Day. Um, an example of what we do is, we didn't run this challenge, but this was a challenge that a company hosted. They said, hey, look, we all eat potato chips. And I'll give you this example. We all eat
Mm-hmm.
potato chips, stick our hand in the bag, reach out, eat them, wipe it on our shirt because it's too much grease. So a company was like, we're trying to remove the grease from potato chips. Let's run an open innovation challenge. That basically
Mm-hmm.
means people from anywhere around the world can submit an idea and say, hey, this is how I would solve this problem. So this challenge a potato chip company ran, saying, I want to solve this problem. Who can come up with the best solution? And it was
Mm-hmm.
made for mechanical engineers. The winner was a freaking violinist because she's
What?
an expert in vibration. So she was able to come up with the solution and won like 100 grand. So
Wow.
that opened my eyes, because I said early on, what Assista Develops vision is democratizing innovation, help anyone, anywhere, create anything.
Mm-hmm.
As a minority, that is a chance for you to get into a field. It doesn't matter your pedigree, doesn't matter who you are, where you came from. If you have the best idea to solve a problem, you have the best idea. So that kind of ignited and awoken my passion. Like, this is what I'm here to
Mm-hmm.
do. This is what I'm called to do. Because again, you can be from MIT, or both my parents are from the South Central Los Angeles area. My mom's from Carson, my dad's from Watts. So
Mm-hmm.
someone from one of those communities, if they can solve any of these challenges out there, there's cash for you, and it's a way for you to propel yourself into your career. So that, again, long story to get the context, but that's how this whole thing kind of came about. And then I was in my garage. I live up here in Carlsbad, and I was like, I built now this open innovation platform, switched from a business model that I was making money on, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really like it, and it wasn't taking me to where I wanted to go. So I
Mm-hmm.
said, who are the top innovators, best innovative companies out there? NASA. Cold emailed, cold called this guy from NASA for months. Finally got a hold of him, got him to agree to run a pilot with us, and we showed them a 90% time and cost savings improvement. And I've been rolling with it ever since.
Wow, that's beautiful. You know, it kind of remind. I was like, man, it's kind of like for me better, like the way my mind goes. I was like, he kind of got this innovation idea platform that operates as a blockchain somehow.
So that's the next iteration for us, is imagine, there's people that, moonlight and do work nights and weekends, and there's all these people investing in startups, but we might not have the capital to invest in startups, and you have to have a certain threshold to even be an investor. You have to meet certain parameters, but we all got sweat equity. There's
Hmm.
plenty of us that, work corporate jobs and make really good money, but maybe we want to find a way to get into startups.
Hmm.
Imagine a challenge being run by another startup, but the winners get a token, and that token is utilized as a mechanism to say, I now retain a certain percentage ownership of this company. All we're
Mm.
doing is what Kickstarter did, but doing it pre this is our product. It's like, hey, vote on these 50 different products and see which one you like best. So
Mm.
you spit out exactly what we're going towards now, which is, how do we tokenize this? How do we make this experience new and different?
Gotcha. Let's go back to the root of the problem. Why do you feel that all these organizations have so much issues? Well, not issues, but are just innovation isn't the way. It's not. They're not doing a good job, or it's not done at a high percentage rate. Why do we feel that's the reason?
So there's a couple of different reasons. One, 84% of executives, basically say, hey, look, and this is from a report, I think from Deloitte, they struggle to still find top tech candidates. So
Mm.
there's a hiring war going on right now. That's a reason. But another big reason that I've experienced personally is, it's, an acronym HIPPO, and it's highest paid person in the room. That person is the person that decides what idea is best, right? So I'm a senior manager, so my idea is what I'm going to decide is the best. And then there's
Mm.
other ones too. Think about Toyota. Is Toyota going to continue to make the Camry year over year, proven revenue, proven income, or are they going to go out on a limb and do something completely wild and different and put a bunch of their best resources to that? They're not going to do that. They're going to focus on what brings them in revenue and their bread and butter. But unfortunately, that's part of the reason why a lot of companies end up getting disrupted. So I would say it's, this corporate politics of, I'm the person that's coming up with this next great idea. There's other times where, organizations don't really give people a chance to, like, hey, I have this different idea. I'm
Mhm.
talking to some big corporations here that have 300 plus divisions internally that don't even really talk to each other, don't
Mm.
communicate with each other. So they may have someone within the organization that can solve the problem, but those people are so laser focused on what their job is day in and day out that they're not able to express themselves. And that's why companies like Google do so well, because they say, hey, we give our employees a percentage of their time. I think it's something like 10 to 15% of their time. They're able to go out and do their own thing. And I think Gmail was created from that, and a few other of their now biggest, revenue generators were created from this
Mhm.
10 to 15% of your time is allowed for you to experiment with different ideas. And I feel like that's what's lacking.
Yeah, that's an amazing business model. I feel like it's a catch-22 because you want to stay core to the essence of what makes you money, but at the same time, you also have to have your pulse on innovation too, because if not, at some point it's going to come back and bite you. I mean, look, uh, uh, if I look back into time, like you remember Blockbuster?
Yeah.
Blockbuster had an opportunity to innovate when Redbox came out about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they
Yep.
they came on too late. And then Redbox had a perfect time to innovate to what could have been Netflix, but they didn't. And then now Netflix is here. So like at every stage, there should be you should have your pulse on innovation and evolution at some point, or else you're just gonna, I don't know, you're gonna get left behind at some point.
That's what's happening right now, and that's kind of part of our messaging to a lot of these organizations is like, hey, look, like this is what's going to happen. And a lot of these companies are going by the wayside because you're not choosing to disrupt yourself, basically. And that's where open innovation plays such a great role, because I mean, that NASA pilot that we did, there was a university team in Madrid that participated. There was a student from MIT, one of the co-winners, and a consultant from France, like people from all around the world, different disciplines, different ideas on how to solve this problem. They're able to say, hey, look, this is what we can bring to the table. And the
Mhm,
same is true. I mean, think about the violinist story. Like,
mhm,
who would have thought that that's the person that actually comes forward and solves this problem? So I feel
yeah,
like that's kind of the big thing for us, is pointing that out to organizations. And then small to medium sized companies and startups, like, get access. You pay the challenge winners a prize based on, hey, look, you won this competition, you win whatever the prize value is you put forth. Or for those companies that are struggling to hire talent, we're even leveraging this, or allowing companies to leverage this as a mechanism to decide who the best talent is to potentially hire. Put a
mhm,
challenge forward, and you could see what people are actually capable of. And in my industry, mechanical engineering and manufacturing, that's huge,
mhm,
because a lot of times students graduate school and they don't necessarily know how to make a product that you can physically make. Yeah, the idea, the CAD model, the 3D design on the computer looks great, but can this actually physically be made? And that's a
mhm.
big struggle right now. Part of the reason we're also seeing some supply chain issues across the world, and we just don't manufacture a lot in the states anymore. A lot of
Mm,
manufacturing is
yeah,
sent south of the border or to China, and with everything going on right now, there's some big struggles. So it's a
yeah.
big opportunity in front of us right now. We're just trying to run with it.
Like, I love it, and you guys are right in the middle of the opportunity. Another thing I see too, because I'm a big diversity, equity, and inclusion guy, is that this could
Hmm.
help with a lot of the challenges that these organizations have meeting their diversity, equity, inclusion, goals or recruitment strategies or whatever it is. And not only, going back to that idea of the violinist, who would have thought with that, like, because you're 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 including a diversity of thought, right? Somebody who doesn't normally do this, and then let's say if this person becomes a part of the mold of the company, or has some. extension into it, you could fulfill some of those diversity, equity, inclusion needs and get that diversity of thought that can help you amplify or elevate the product or expand the services you offer. I don't know if you ever thought about that as a component.
100%. No, no, no. The first pitch I ever did, and a VC told me like, nah, this isn't. This focus on. You should just focus on the marketplace. So again, the original iteration of the idea, I still remember my very first pitch because this whole idea of democratization, allowing people to come in from different disciplines, different backgrounds, and play a role was huge for me. The first pitch was basically like, hey, imagine there's a guy in, let's just say hypothetically in Rwanda. He understands
Mm-hmm.
the challenges that the people in his community face, but he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have the technological resources or the financial resources to solve that problem. What if you can bring that person's wisdom and understanding of the problem together with someone who has the financial means to solve the problem and the technical? What can those three people do together? That was the initial pitch for this platform. But it comes back to not trusting yourself and knowing what you're really passionate and what you're trying to do, because I chase the money. Like, oh, I have this business, I get these freelance contracts, this is easy money for me, this is what the investors are telling me to do, trust and run with that. And here
Mm-hmm.
I am now making a full turn and going back to what the original idea was. And sometimes it just comes down to market maturity.
Yeah.
Even right now, open is still kind of taboo in some ways because companies are concerned with IP. Like, oh, I don't want to put this challenge out there and have people, my competitors, see this is the problem we're looking to solve. So we have some solutions for that, but it's kind of like how it was with the cloud. People were like, I'm
Yeah.
not posting my photos on the cloud. I'm kind of fearful of that. Best believe in 2014, 2015, when I started the first iteration of this product,
Yeah.
which was just the freelance CAD design marketplace, there was none of these conversations happening about open. So it sometimes just takes patience, maturity, and then for you to come back to like, why did I start this? What was the sole purpose of this? And for me, equity inclusion is a big role. And even I've been turned down for roles within organizations as I
Mm-hmm.
climbed the corporate ladder. And I felt some of it was due to, okay, I was one of the youngest people in the industry, one of the very few minorities. You
Mm-hmm.
can, say whatever you want to say about it, but that's how I felt.
Yeah.
So for me, this platform was a way to show, like, hey, look, other people have these capabilities. Other people have a lot to contribute to these organizations in a non traditional model. So
Mm-hmm.
that was the kind of light bulb that went off.
I love all that, and I love that we getting it on a podcast, so they understand you one of the pioneers. So I hope they give you your flowers at some point.
I'm not in it for the flowers, man. I'm in it for everybody to try and, have the opportunities to do the things that they really want to do. And I just feel like, unfortunately, we may be approaching a recession. Everybody doesn't want to talk about it. But if we're
Mm-hmm.
approaching this recession, people are going to need other opportunities to contribute. And there's going to be new economic models that come forward. And I feel like we could be onto something that could be really, really big, and big in a way that helps a lot of people versus a few at the top or even
Yeah.
the middle. Like, how can we have that upward mobility, both career? Because think about it, if you participate in one of these challenges, let's just say your goal is like, look, Bassanio, I'm not trying to become an entrepreneur. I don't want that kind of pressure, but I want to get into design. Let's say I run a
Mm-hmm.
challenge with Nike, and Nike's like, hey, we're doing this potential shoe design, which I'm actually
Mm-hmm.
talking to a friend of mine to try and help me get in there because we have an idea we want to push on some self-lacing snowboard boots similar to the Back to the Future thing, but for
Yeah.
snowboard boots. So anyhow, imagine people being able to vote on that, being able to participate in that competition with their design, and they don't have any true background in the field, but they're like, this is something I'm interested in. That can be a path for them to get in the door. And to your point, from an
Mm-hmm.
equity, inclusion, and diversity play for some of these organizations, that's what we're truly looking at.
Yeah. I definitely understand that. I'm up here thinking about like, man, this could redo like career development and how people get started in their careers. Like this could change the game for a lot of stuff. Like if you know leadership and people and companies are more open to embrace this concept. So I really, I'm just, my mind is going so many different places with this right now, as I'm
Yeah,
sure
and I
yours
mean
does every
that's
day.
every single day, and that's if I can give any advice to any aspiring entrepreneurs that are listening and are continuing to listen to your podcast, it's like find that thing that
Hmm.
is going to get you up every single day and fight this battle because it's an uphill battle. I mean, I've had great success. I've had wonderful opportunities, and I've been punched in the face, kicked in the face, and stuff over and over and over and over and over again. And you got to get up every single day and fight. And
Hmm.
that's why, to me, like a freelance CAD design marketplace didn't really wake me up every single day like I'm ready to go to battle for this. It was monetary, good money, but this is what the long term vision is for the future because it can help a lot of people. And obviously, there's economic opportunity in completely reshaping how, think of vocations and internships and all of these different ways for people to get in the door.
Hmm.
I ran a training course in LA through this clean tech incubator called LACI. And it was basically, they tapped on, I had a friend of a friend, he was a brother that ran the fund for that incubator. So he ran the fund and he got me in the door to do this training, engineering and manufacturing, hands on for a lot of the students. 2-week crash course. At the end of the course, we put them through challenges. And these challenges were a way to showcase this is what I've learned in 2 weeks. And it was a whole bunch of people from South Central. So a lot of people from the community, no background, no expertise, anything. We ran this training course. And in the end, 15 of the 35 students got internships for these different companies. And one of the students, like 3 weeks after his internship, got a job at LADWP, and he was a dreamer.
Hmm.
So it's like he was a dreamer in the sense that he came from Mexico, came over here, went through the program, and then got this opportunity now. And now he's a full time mechanical engineer at LADWP. So
Hmm.
that's what we're trying to do at scale. And that was one of the things that kind of woke me up to like what this could be.
Hmm. Okay, I like that. I like that. Now I got to ask you, what was your first job?
Scooping ice cream at Rite Aid.
Are you serious? By the way,
Scooping ice cream in Rite Aid.
Rite Aid ice cream is the bomb. I don't care what anybody say.
Thrifties still the best. I take my kids to the one over here, and they love it, and I love it too because it's a little more
It's
economical than
got
some of the other
it's
choices.
economical and it's just got good flavor. It's like this
Yeah,
the creaminess of that versus some other ones. I don't know. Uh, Thrifty ice cream is on point.
always been, and I think always will be as long as they're open. Yeah, that was my first gig. Is I was going to school and playing ball, and I needed something to kind of support myself. And yeah, I was scooping ice cream at Rite Aid, and then I was like one of the only guys in that store. So they used to send me to do all the go back. So people that come to the front, they would make me do all that stuff plus scoop ice cream. So that was my first gig.
Man, from scooping ice cream to advising tech companies on innovation.
Humble beginnings.
There you
Humble
go. There you
beginnings.
go.
Yeah.
So you're gonna inspire so many different people when they hear this episode. I just know it's gonna be fire. What like when you think about the steps you kind of took to start your career in business? Like what's some advice you would give to somebody listening on your journey of how you were able to do it, and maybe these things could probably work for them if they're trying to get into the innovation space or they had great ideas like you did.
It's really a matter of surround yourself with the right people and go out and find people that are willing to help. I have a great network of mentors that I've been
Hmm.
able to tap into um, and feel like you belong in rooms.
Hmm.
So when you tap into this knowledge and this expertise of some of these folks that you tap on for help, take and apply what they're giving you knowledge wise. And then
Hmm.
just don't be afraid to try different and unique and new things. That is the other big thing for me is that often it's we all try and walk sometimes similar paths and breaking off of that trajectory and going down your own path is worthwhile, even if things fail. The freelance CAD design marketplace, like, I shut that down basically because it wasn't really for me, but there was so much learned, and learning how to build a two-sided marketplace for me was huge, and being able
Hmm.
to do that. Don't be afraid of going and taking the corporate route and learning the things that you need to learn. So I
Hmm.
learned operational, how operations work from A to Z. I was
Yeah.
on a executive team for a small company based here in San Diego, and making some of those leadership decisions and stuff like that. Don't be afraid of taking a non-traditional route. And I think that's the other big thing. But there's so much opportunity out here right now.
Hmm.
There really is. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's not positioned that way, just because I don't know. I can't even put my finger on it, but I'll just tell you, even in this potential recession that's coming, there's going to be a
Hmm.
ton of opportunities for people to not only expand their knowledge, but
Hmm.
then find other opportunities to make cash. And I think I did a webinar with my guy from NASA that I connected
Hmm.
with, and the World Economic Forum. I can't remember the exact data and statistic, but let's say hypothetically it's a million jobs. A
Yeah.
million jobs are going to be going away because of AI and robotics and all of that. But 2 million are going to be created. 2 million jobs that we don't even have enough people to fill right now. So
Yeah.
look at what those potential jobs are, find ways to upskill and do it yourself. And then, shameless plug for what we do, these challenges are an opportunity, and not just our platform. There's other challenge platforms that exist. Go to
Hmm.
some of these platforms and participate, and it's a way for you to build experience. Because what does every single job say? Oh, it's an entry level position, but you need X amount of years experience. Where are you supposed to get
So
that
true.
experience from? Practice, practice, practice. Challenges are a mechanism for you to be able to practice. So again, don't be afraid to try new things. Go out there, find a network of mentors, experts. Go find the people you're looking for. Again, for me, called the guy from NASA. His name's Steve Rader. We have a great relationship now. Started a cold LinkedIn email at like 2 in the morning,
Are you
and we
serious?
built a relation. Yeah, we built a relationship based off of that. And I'm in the running now for like a big contract with them. We're in the running for that, and it all just started from a relationship and me just asking him a lot of
Hmm.
questions and saying, "Hey, how does this work? I'm trying
Hmm.
to learn and thinking about running and building an open innovation platform. What is this?" And he loved my ideas on equity, inclusion, and what this can mean. And he's
Hmm.
like, all one of my biggest cheerleaders, one of my biggest supporters. And it's all just from me cold reaching out and saying, I want to learn this. Can you help me? And some people are going to say no, and some people are going to say yes and be open to helping you.
Yeah, and that's how it is always with anything in life. But you have to be courageous enough to put yourself out there, put one step in, one foot in one of in front of the other foot. I mean, anything you do in life is going to have some challenges. It's going to be a little scary. Think about the first time you rode a bike, but once you got on there and you learned it and you got the assistance you need, it was smooth sailing from there. So I encourage everybody to follow your advice. You know what's one, because talking to you, I feel like you've lived such a abundant life. What's one good lesson you feel life has taught you?
Man, struggle becomes a superpower.
Ooh.
Don't be afraid of hard times, because those hard times teach you how to be resilient and fight your way through. A lot of times we look at struggle as this thing that, oh man, like things are tough right now. This life, it's ebbs and flows. So you're going to have good times, you're going to have hard times, and everybody's, oh, take these lessons, and opportunity. And it sounds like it's this just nicety and this,
Hmm.
oh, success thing that successful people talk about. No, like these hard times truly shape you. And if you think about it in terms of this, people that are handed everything, like here you go, and have opportunities that maybe we don't early on, they don't know maybe what that struggle looks like. So when things get hard, they fold under pressure and you rise
Hmm.
because you know how to handle those things. So embrace The tough times and the challenges, and I'll tell you, there was times as I was building that open innovation marketplace, I got laid off from my job. So I had a 9 to 5 to help kind of fund it, and I got laid off, and I was driving Amazon Flex and Lyft, and in between rides working on the platform, pitching, like doing all these different things. And
Hmm.
those struggles allowed me to persevere and get through certain things and taught me so much. So
Hmm.
don't be afraid of the tough times or the lessons, or like you said, taking the leap, getting on the bike, pedaling, and figuring it out.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes entrepreneurs that they're building the plane while they're flying. They're literally learning how to do what it is that they're trying to do and solve the problem as they're knee deep in it. And so I give a shout out to all those entrepreneurs that's just passionate that way.
The NASA pilot that we did, the platform wasn't ready.
Hmm.
So I talked to him about, hey, here's what we're trying to do. Here's what we're trying to build. And then he came to me and was like, I might have a pilot for you to run this. My background was mechanical engineering, and I had, thousands, tens of thousands of users on mechanical. He's like, it's
Hmm.
going to be systems engineer. That's a whole different discipline of engineering. And on top of that, I'm going to need this platform ready by this date. It was a Friday. I can't remember the exact date. It was a Friday, and the platform wasn't ready, and that was the day of the demo. And I was panicking, freaking out. For some unknown reason, it was postponed to the next week, Wednesday. That Wednesday morning, I had just finished testing the whole platform, everything else, and did the demo for them later that day, and then secured that first pilot, that first contract. That first contract opened the doors because we
Wow.
did so well on that. So literally, as you said, I built the plane. I jumped out of the airplane and was building and putting together the parachute on the way down. And that was because I didn't see really any other way. And I was like, I
Right.
have to do this. I have this opportunity. I have to do this. So that's what I mean. That struggle is really what pushed me over the edge. And now here we are.
Right. Wow, that's amazing. Like, and that's a testament to that. Sometimes, if you take the leap, just like somebody told me the other day, like just jump, you'll fly, right? If you take the leap, sometimes the universe or whatever divine thing you believe in will provide the things you need to get you where you need to be. So I love that, love that, love
I
that,
did
love
it
that.
with kids. I did it with kids too. I have 2 kids, so I'm like making sure that I'm providing and keeping a
Hmm.
roof over their heads and all those things. And that's why you got to humble yourself and sometimes do things that aren't,
Hmm.
appealing. I was, like I said, driving Amazon Flex literally as I was working on this NASA project.
Yeah, so I love that. Um, What when you look at your industry or the industry you're in right now, what do you think the future has in store? If especially if we continue to go down this path that you have presented for us, that could be a viable path with all all this innovation and tapping into all these different expertise to be a part of the innovation process. What does the future look like if we continue to go in this route and direction?
If we go in this path and we go in this direction, and with the emergence of Web3 and crypto, I honestly feel like this will be an opportunity to level the playing field.
Mm,
That's what this can represent, because again, if we get, and what we're doing right now is we're building stock challenges in the library, and these
mhm,
challenges sole purpose is for people to get experience and prove they have experience. So if we build these stock challenges in the library, and other companies are doing somewhat similar thing, and then organizations are already starting to lower the barrier to entry, Tesla, Apple, Google, all these different companies are like, degree isn't necessarily a requirement so much anymore. Show us you can do the job. If
mhm,
that gets passed down the chain to other companies, then these challenges and just getting, don't even think about our platform. Find ways to get experience, find ways to get practice, find that network of mentors and these other people that can support and help you. If that happens, then that means that some of these big dominant corporations don't have that competitive advantage anymore, because I can run a challenge and say, hey, I'm putting forth 10 grand, right? 10 grand, whoever solves this problem. If I'm a small to medium sized company, and you have the same people from all around the world, it can be thousands, it can be millions of different people participating and saying, here's how I would solve this problem. You pick the best one, award a winner. Then you award that winner and say, you won a cash prize. On top of that, we want you to work with us. That levels the playing field. It doesn't matter, again, what your background and your pedigree is, you have a chance to participate in this new kind of economy. It doesn't matter if you're a small small company competing against a giant. You have access to the same potential resources, knowledge, information, expertise as them. And I just feel like that's where we are headed, and I'm
Hmm.
placing a big bet on that. So again, now is the time for people to find ways to upskill,
Hmm.
and just get experience. And I feel like that's where we are headed, um, globally. It becomes a global economy.
Yeah. I want to play devil's advocate real quick with you. Because another thought I had is, what do you say to those companies who are like they're really at the you know the top of their game, right? Like they're the Googles, the Amazons of the world, and the way that they kind of look for the opportunity instead of running the innovation challenges, or maybe they might do that, or go this route, but they have this other mindset where they buy out companies that you know could possibly pose a threat, or that they can integrate into their business, so that they keep all their innovation in house. Um, could that potentially disrupt that? And how do you feel companies would feel about you know something like that disrupting them to monopolize the market in their business strategy if that's their approach?
Sure. What inevitably happens, and I can speak from experience of a company that's in my industry that I won't name, that they're do exactly that. They buy, acquire companies, they integrate their software, their technology, their packages, and typically once that acquisition happens, a lot of times that product ceases to perform at the level that it used to, or it completely changes because they're not devoting the amount of time, energy, and effort into that. Because if they're buying it purely from a, this is a competitor, how do we take these guys out our market? You're not going to be able to do that at scale in the future, in my
Mm,
opinion, because there's going to be enough of these companies that are starting to pop up. There's going to be enough people generating some of these ideas, and these ideas can come from so many different diverse places. And then if you're essentially with the blockchain, what you can do is form these DAOs or digital
mhm,
companies. You can form these digital companies and allow a collaborative experience. That's where I feel like the game will change,
mhm,
is that the small to medium sized startups that embrace the idea of like community collaboration, getting stakeholders involved, but not
mhm,
just getting them involved, but giving them their equal share of that
mm,
opportunity. So that's what DAOs do, is spread that wealth. And I think that's inevitably what is coming. And that's where I feel like the strategy of just going and buying these out, you're not going to be able to continue to maneuver and buy all of these different companies
mhm,
solving diverse problems in a sector out. That's just my personal opinion. And to those big companies that is their strategy,
mhm,
there's an opportunity now for you to kind of change this paradigm. And I mean, just think about it in terms of this, um, data.
mm,
Imagine if we were paid for our data.
mhm,
Imagine if instead of Facebook or Instagram taking all that data and you're running all these ads based on that, imagine us being able to monetize our data and being able to say, I want to generate some sort of value from this data. That's an opportunity that exists, and
mhm,
someone's going to create that. I know, her name's Angela Benton. She runs a company called Streamlytics,
mhm,
based out of, I believe she's based out of Miami. What they do is they do exactly that, but your streaming services, what you watch, and all this
mhm,
information, and they're taking control of that and allowing users to control, hey, I want to be able to monetize my data because this is
mhm.
valuable information. So
Yeah,
those types of things are already happening, and I think it's just going to expand exponentially over the next 3 to 5 years.
gotcha. Yeah, I totally agree. And then I think from your collaboration is going to be the key going forward. If you're not willing to collaborate, you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities to not only capture that data, capture subsets of markets, and produce the overall best thing for the marketplace. And the marketplace will tell you what they want and what they need, based on all that collaboration and data that you can get. So I
Right.
love it, love it, love it. Um, let's end off like this. What because I feel like me and you could talk for hours, but I try to keep it what it used to be a drive time. I don't know if people are driving to work anymore, but if those people who are, I try to keep it in the drive time to capture all these nuggets. What projects are you currently working on, and where can people find you if they want to connect?
So assist2develop.com, or assist to develop is what we're working on. We actually changed the domain to make it a lot easier now. We just recently did that. It's
Love it.
a2d.app.
Okay.
So assist to develop a2d.app is where you can find what I'm working on. That's our platform. That's the Open Innovation Marketplace. You can find me on Twitter. It's I am Bassanio03, Bassanio Peters the third. We had this conversation pre-studio. So I'm active on Twitter, LinkedIn. You can find me there too. It's Bassanio, Bassanio. Not a whole lot of us out there, so easy to find me, Bassanio Peters the third. And yeah, that's how you find me. This is what I am working on. This is my big focus, my big goal. I have a partnership with a manufacturing company as well called Prismir. So I have that partnership to help companies, especially with all the supply chain issues right now, to help organizations be able to source parts. And it's part of our overall ecosystem of what we're trying to build. So those are the two things that I'm working on right now.
Yeah, and don't worry if you guys are driving and you didn't get all that. I'm gonna get all Bassanio's information and I'm gonna put it into the show notes. Bassanio, it's been a pleasure to chat with you today, good sir. Any last words of wisdom for the people, especially those thought thinkers and innovators out there that are struggling to get into the space that you have crafted?
Take action. Like, it doesn't matter what space you're trying to get into, take action. Like, I take a samurai kind of mindset. You know what the right thing to do is. Strike.
I
Strike.
love that.
Take that opportunity and go out. That's it.
Take action. All my runners out there and just strike. All right. So we're going to leave it off with that. And I don't know what we're going to do in the future, Bassanio, but I have a feeling we're going to collaborate on something, but we'll figure out what that is.
100%. I'm all for it.
All right. Have a great rest of the evening, everybody listening, and we'll catch you on the next time.